So welcome to the Film Inquiry Roundtable number 6, favorite soundtracks and scores. So my name is Kristy Strouse. I'm the editor-in-chief of Film Inquiry. I hope everyone's doing well out there in virtual land. And I appreciate anyone who tunes into our videos. Feel free to always include your own picks. And before I get into my own favorite soundtracks and scores, which there are many, I'm gonna do a quick kind of just go around and have everyone say hi and introduce themselves. So Jake, if you wanna start.
Sure, yeah. Hi, I'm Jake Tropila. I'm a writer and editor at Film Inquiry. Very happy to be here, and yeah, I'm looking forward to talking movie music with you guys.
Groovy.
Anyone? Yeah, very groovy.
Hi, I'm Kevin. I'm also a writer here at Film Inquiry, and I would say musical score is probably one of my favorite components to talk about in a film, so I'm really excited for this conversation.
Emily?
Hey, I'm Emily Wheeler. I am the writers coordinator for Film Inquiry. I've been bouncing around on the website doing different things for probably about 4 years now, but I always lose track. And I've done a few of these videos already, so looking forward to doing more of them hopefully in the future, and looking forward to this one.
Xander?
Oh, hi. Alexandra Miller. Been writing for Film Inquiry for about 6 years now. And this is a really exciting topic, and I'm very happy to see some familiar and new faces. And definitely pumped to talk about the moving image and all the beautiful tones and arpeggios and all the stuff that goes with it.
And I am the aforementioned newbie. I am Jay Ledbetter. I wrote my first article for Film Inquiry in 2014. And at this point, I'm more the Van Wilder of Film Inquiry than anything else. I'm the guy that sticks around despite not having contributed terribly frequently for a long time, but I just like these folks too much to leave the fraternity house. So happy to be here and meet all of you guys virtually for the first time, I think. So this is exciting.
Yeah, I can put the name to the face now.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, thank you all of you for being here. This is always so much fun, and we try to do these every other week. It's a great way to kind of interact and obviously just talk about something that we're all very passionate about, clearly, being film. And this, we try to do something new and fun every time. So music, there's so much to great like film soundtracks and scores that undoubtedly there's going to be a lot we don't talk about, but I hope that we have some good, diverse, fun conversation. And so to start, for me, and I feel like we could probably make, I mean, this is just part 1 of 10, like 10-hour long roundtables. No, but we could probably just, you know, go on. And, you know, for me, it was hard because I tried to think about it, not necessarily being what I thought was the best, but what personally had an effect on me. So for soundtracks, one of the earlier movies, and well, not early, but earlier in like early teens, I don't want to talk about how old I am, but was Donnie Darko. The soundtrack for that was like super, just I can see every scene that matches every song when I hear it. And it's just was one that was very influential for me as a movie, but also just the musical choices. So was later on a little bit, I thought Garden State had a terrific soundtrack. There's a lot of great music on there. I also, I'm not a huge, like I love Almost Famous, some of the songs used in some of the sequences in that movie. I think of, you know, every time, even though I knew Tiny Dancer before that, I always think of that sequence. So sometimes for me, like soundtracks that stand out are just pieces of like moments in cinematic history, like scenes that will always be iconic to that song kind of match together. So then I wrote these down too, but I wrote so many down that I was worried that I would talk too long. So I tried to just grab a couple. But yeah, there's a lot of scores. For newer people that are scoring, I do love all of Fincher's collaborations with Atticus Ross and wow, I can't believe Trent Reznor. Yes, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Specifically, I love Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. That's one of my favorite ones. But I also love the work on the TV series Watchmen that they did as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I also love the scoring for, just to throw out some shows. Ramin for, let's see, it's, he did Westworld and obviously Game of Thrones. So yeah, Ramin Djawadi, sorry. But yeah, like I'm calling him by his first name, you know, because we're pals. But no, so that's just to kind of throw out a few. I also had a really hard time. Like I've gone through 10 different revisions of this, and I think I probably missed 10 that I wanted to talk about. So I'll just throw it to Jake, who is a lot more organized and probably has some of the ones I would have chosen.
Oh, stop. Well, I do want to say at the top, it's kind of interesting that we picked this topic because yesterday at the time of our recording, we lost probably the most legendary film composer ever, Ennio Morricone. Once Upon a Time in the West, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, and then films like Days of Heaven and Hateful Eight and The Thing. A lot of the reasons why I love those movies is because I love watching, or I love the score and watching those movies with the same music played in those contexts. And just such a vast and varied career he's had, and I don't think I think his work is clearly unimpeachable. But yeah, it's sad to have lost him, but he'll always be around forever. Aside from, you know, of course, the great Morricone, I've one soundtrack that I kind of kept coming back to in all of my choices is the Drive soundtrack. It was a very seminal choice for me. I moved to LA the year that movie came out, so when I saw it, I got the soundtrack immediately, and I would just drive through LA at night and listen to Night Call.
That is great drive-in music.
Yeah,
A Real Hero, and
just it's a very LA movie too. Yeah,
yep.
Exactly. I was, as far as I'm concerned, I was living the dream, and even Cliff Martinez's instrumental tracks are great too. But just those first four songs on the album are all fantastic, and I would just go and rewatch the movie and over again because I wanted to see the film with those songs playing in the context they were in. And then yeah, aside from a Drive, I also I've mentioned this series before, but Cowboy Bebop I think has the best music in anything ever. A lot of memorable tracks in every episode, and then also I'm a big fan of a lot of director and composer combos who've worked together, and one of my favorites is Claire Denis and the Tindersticks. And for them, I would highly recommend either the Trouble Every Day or the High Life soundtracks are both excellent, and they both end with this beautiful song with a male, this like very tender male voice, kind of that drifts you off through the credits. And High Life, in the case of High Life, it's Robert Pattinson who's singing. I didn't know that. Yeah, it's fantastic. And also, as you know, being a Bond fan, you can probably throw a dart at any Bond film and there's a piece of music I like in there somewhere.
Except the Quantum one.
Unfortunately, Quantum doesn't have much. That's those are some of my picks. I'll throw it out to whoever wants to take the helm from here and share.
Can we do like a roundtable shout out of just like a quick Ennio Morricone favorite?
I'll say Once Upon a Time in the West for me, specifically The Man with the Harmonica.
I'll be cliche today and say Good, Bad, and the Ugly.
Nice, very nice,
stellar choice.
And I'll give love to the Hateful Eight, which the opening track on that movie I think is unbelievably good, and obviously the rest of it is good as well. It's it was really just like a reminder. It was kind of him hitting the greatest hits, kind of. You know, but when he hasn't done anything for that long and he's Ennio Morricone, it's a lot better than everybody else who's churning out their greatest hits like 1917. No, I love that score, and you know, R.I.P. to a legend, man.
Yeah.
Hatefully, yeah. I would mirror that, and also just throw out The Thing.
Yeah, I'd be basic with The Good, Bad, and the Ugly too. I think it's hard to beat those.
Definitely. I think it's funny because there's like a lot of scores of his that I love that are from like bad movies or not such like respected movies like Exorcist 2 or like Danger Diabolic, but they're great scores. But one of my favorites is actually probably from the second in the Dollars trilogy, For a Few Dollars More. I think that's like the perfect encapsulation of like the sagebrush revisionist Western style and like the operatic nature that was brought to it by Morricone and Leone. So that's going to be my little shout out.
It's a very underrated trilogy.
It's terrific,
It's
it's
great,
so
yeah.
I'll shout out some of my favorites here. I think my favorite score of all time is Philip Glass's score from Mishima: A Life in 4 Chapters. I think that score, I listen to that score so much. I tell people about it all the time. It's so propulsive and unique. And Philip Glass is obviously one of the greats. He's had a weirdly like all over the place kind of career. He'll go a long time without doing any movies, or at least not any movies that anybody sees. And then, he comes back with something like Jane a couple years ago, which is just a real reminder of how great he is and how propulsive his scores can be, especially in a documentary like that. I don't think you usually get a score like that in a documentary like that. And it really made that thing click along in ways that so many other documentaries don't do.
I had 3 films written down. That was one of them. What I was going to talk about, Mishima, the Philip Glass score. Yeah, it's
incredible. I love it so much. And then actually last night, not as prep, but just because I watched Hamilton, and when I watched Hamilton, I was like, I'm really itching for some more live performance movies and something a little more cinematic than I thought Hamilton was, unfortunately. But I wanted to get my fix, and so I watched. I mean, when you want a live performance movie, you got to watch Stop Making Sense, and then that just got me thinking to, Jonathan Demme, one of the greatest users of pop music of all time. I mean, Goodbye Horses and Silence of the Lambs, I think, is one of my favorite needle drops in any movie ever. And then you look at Something Wild. He has the cover of David Bowie's Fame, and it's not even like a good cover, but it just strikes that right chord, especially in that moment in the movie. And then
alongside with the Heelys,
exactly. And then you look at Philadelphia, where the 2 songs are The Streets of Philadelphia and Neil Young's Philadelphia. I don't know if you knew this or not. That movie is about Philadelphia, and he is just I think he's just so good, and he obviously loves music. He made so many music documentaries, but he would be a guy for me, one of the best utilizers of pop music for sure.
Definitely, well said.
Yeah, and you can't mention Demme without mentioning Stop Making Sense, the greatest concert film of all time.
Yep, man, watched it last night. I was literally dancing with my dogs in the living room. It's just I can't help it, man. That movie, every time I watch it, it gets better and better too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like I'll pop it and I'm like, I'm just gonna watch like, Psycho Killer and like Life During Wartime, and then like an hour and a half later I've watched the whole thing, and again I'm like dancing around my living room like, it's truly marvelous.
I'm pretty glad that there was quite a few TV shows being mentioned. Actually, I did a tweet I think yesterday where I asked everyone, name the TV show opening credits that you would never skip, and it seems like a wide majority. They're all saying this show or this show or this show, largely because of the song that's used or because of the score that's in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say whichever one is shortest.
Oh, so Lost.
I'm not afraid to song, no matter how much I love it.
So Lost then, because Lost is literally just the logo for 4 seconds.
Yeah, exactly,
so,
exactly.
It's done.
I'll take any love for Lost I can get, even if it's in this way.
Yeah, true. For show, I would go with either BoJack or Deadwood. Those are like 2 like perfect themes in my opinion.
Yeah, there was a lot of BoJack. In responses.
Yeah, BoJack's awesome.
And I was surprised there was like only 1 person who said Pokemon. I expected there to be more.
That's fair, actually. I mean, thinking back, well, I couldn't fast forward it back then, but
actually, you know what the answer is? The answer is DuckTales. You do not skip the DuckTales theme song. Absolutely never. You don't do it.
Yeah, so
good.
A lot of people said Game of Thrones, of course. Kristy already
that's so long. It's so long.
I totally understand. I think it's a phenomenal opening credit sequence, but it is long. Yeah. And then a lot of people mentioned Dark, which I actually have not seen yet, but I actually looked up the opening credits. I checked it out, and that's a really good song.
It is a good song. I'm actually watching that right now, but yet I do always skip that opening because I want to know what's going on next. It's one of those shows that's all just a huge mystery. So it's like, I don't care. I want to know what's going on.
I see. You're in season 1 right now?
I'm still in season 1, yeah.
Would you recommend it?
Yes, it is slow to get off the ground, but about midway through the first season is when it starts really getting super weird, which is what I wanted from it.
I've heard nothing but great things, so.
Yeah, I heard really good things about it. Yeah, cool.
Remember in the before times when we couldn't skip the theme songs?
Yeah, that was dark days.
Option, yeah. Those were dark days.
The Leftovers has a good opening if anyone's.
Oh yeah, it does.
Yes, you mentioned Leftovers as well.
Second season, yeah.
That was a great show that I liked, and I started, and I just, for whatever reason, I just didn't follow through on it. I don't know why. It was
I've totally done that, yeah.
Yeah, like The Americans. That was another one. Just my own ineptitude, I guess.
Yeah.
One that I always didn't want to skip is the 6 Feet Under opening. I love just hearing those
that got mentioned too.
That first piano key. As soon as it hits, you're in.
Yeah,
and the rest of it's great too. But yeah,
also
it's
just
a good
the
one.
whole opening music and images.
Very gorgeous and very, very mournful.
Well, I mean, I don't think any theme song sets the table for a show like the Twin Peaks theme song. I mean, it just transports you immediately.
Yeah. I mean, Twin Peaks: The Return also, just for going for more Rex, that entire season has just got a great soundtrack of guest musicians popping in and out to deliver an amazing performance.
Mm-hmm. All Lynch stuff, music is inextricably tied to basically everything he's ever done.
Yeah.
And David Lynch just has just an incredible ear for original and just encapsulating music. Yeah.
Did you have any you wanted to share, Emily, as far as your picks?
Yeah, I mean, sounds like I'm in the same boat as a lot of people. Like when I think of scores, I just know that I'm a sucker for a big Philip Glass score. Like when he goes really big, that's when I love it. So like Jay mentioned Jane, which is probably the last one he did that's really memorable and you just can't miss it. That one, obviously, they had to have a big score because they didn't have audio for a lot of the footage of that. So they had to create background audio, and then they also had to use a very heavy score to basically tell you what's happening and give the film a better narrative. I think they might have actually edited to his music a little bit too, in a lot of cases with that. So yeah, it's impossible to miss his score in Jane. But honestly, when I think of the Philip Glass scores I really love, it's when he's paired with a big melodrama, because I think that really pairs well with just when he goes huge. And for that, I love Notes on a Scandal. I love what he did with Notes on a Scandal. I love that movie in general because it's just a ridiculous melodrama about basically Judi Dench has the hots for Cate Blanchett, and that's the point of the movie. And that's basically it. And Philip Glass, he just completely plays up kind of how crazy Judi Dench's character is with his score. It's just kind of constantly in her head and pushing you along to the weird places she takes that movie. So that's probably my favorite score. But like I said, really anytime I start hearing Philip Glass be so recognizable, I'm pretty much in immediately.
I just looked up the IMDb description of that movie. It says basically Judi Dench basically has the hots for Cate Blanchett. So Emily's been writing the IMDb descriptions.
I also like what you said, Emily, is that like the bigger he goes, the better it is. Like I want the big Baroque, but it's also atonal at the same time. It's like it's atonal, it's repetitive, but it's so Baroque and it's so expressive. And I think that's why Philip Glass is such a singular talent, in modern music. But also I think it's kind of funny is that he gets ripped on a lot. Like South Park is like taking so many shots at him. The Simpsons have taken so many shots at him, and I never understood why. Like I remember hearing that because I knew about Philip Glass before knowing his music from Simpsons and South Park, and I expected him to like suck or something, and then like lo and behold, he's magnificent. So I always thought that was funny.
Right, but to be fair, South Park kind of goes after everybody too. So.
True, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who are you going to go to easily if you want to make fun of music? It's like he's so distinctive. He's one of the few people you can really like tap into, and everyone will recognize exactly what you're talking
like you don't have to be like musically talented to like ape his style. You can be like,
Probably one of like the 3 people that like half the people on the street would know their name anyway too. For like John Williams, Philip Glass, and I don't know somebody else.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if do you guys have any scores that when they're used in the movie, you really like them, but when you listen to them outside of the movie, you don't really like, they just don't
Hans
work
Zimmer.
for you on that level? Because
Yeah,
I
Hans
was
Zimmer.
thinking of, Dunkirk for me was like, this is perfect for the movie. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to put my headphones in, do some work, listen to the score. And it was like, this is not doing it for me. A lot of stopwatches, bro. I get it.
I actually go even further and think the Hans Zimmer score for Dunkirk didn't do it for me as I was watching it either.
Oh, interesting.
Oh no, it did everything for me.
I felt for some reason it didn't feel that memorable to me. But the Hans Zimmer score I'm thinking about is Interstellar. There's like only 1 or 2 tracks that I do listen to. Everything else, not really. Like I'll like it during the movie, but I wouldn't actively pursue it outside of watching it. You know.
Well, he can be really. I think a lot of scores today. You look at guys like Johan Johansson, another late great composer, but a lot of his stuff is very mood. It's all just droning, kind of. This is what the movie is. I am establishing.
He just picks a few chords, and
I am making you feel the way I want you to feel right now. But it's in a way where it works really well in the movie, but it just kind of gets a little repetitive when you listen to it.
I think that's like the strength of it, though. I think that it should exist concurrently with the movie, in that, like, if you were to watch, one of my favorite Johan Johansson scores is for the minor hymns. Bill Morrison, who's like basically he would refer to himself as like a visual artist before director. And what he did is that he made an essay film of like, the minor strikes in England and in Ireland and stuff. And the score Johansson did for it is like just jaw-dropping. And, maybe if you divorce that from the images, it might not be as affecting, but it's just all the more with it. And I think that's actually more of a testament to a good score, is that if it works in tandem with the visual element. Because if it works independent of the images, then maybe you're just kind of veering closer to a soundtrack. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So one of the things that I care the most about a score is how much of the storytelling heavy lifting it does. True. And so it directs me to this one thing in musical theory I'm like a huge sucker for, which is leitmotifs. Basically just this idea of repeating the same melody or repeating a certain instrumentation and having that be associated with a character or having that be associated with a place. And then the composer can go on and slowly mutate it if the tone of the scene is slightly different or not.
Yeah.
My favorite score of all time, I'm being really cliche here, but still, my favorite score of all time is Howard Shore's work on Lord of the Rings.
There's nothing wrong with that. We were just talking about that before, actually.
Yeah, for Lord of the Rings. And one of the major reasons why Lord of the Rings is like one of my all-time favorite scores is there's a leitmotif for every location in that film. When you hear the pan flute, it's Shire. When you hear the fiddle, it's either Shire or it's Rohan, right? If you hear like this iron and gears and percussion bass, it really brings about the industry feel of Isengard, right?
Yeah.
And then you can associate these melodies once you hear it, where you are. Like, and I've shown Lord of the Rings to so many friends, and there are a few of them who get a little overwhelmed by, wait, where are we at the moment? And I told them, once I told them about the music, I said, hey, if you hear this tune, it's associated with this place or this person. And it actually did help them,
Yeah. And
then you could then look a little further into certain scenes, like in Return of the King, for example. If you remember what the leitmotif is for Mordor, like what the notes are, and they're all in minor key, then it hits really hard when it finally gets to Sauron being defeated and the tower collapses, and you hear the Mordor leitmotif again, but there's now a key change, and instead of it being in minor key, it now sounds so victorious, and it's perfect. I think there's so much storytelling being done just by changing a few notes or just by keeping similar instrumentation to give this sense of like this consistency. And it really helps with the world building of the trilogy and really selling a lot of the complex emotions that a lot of the characters go through.
Yeah. I was gonna say I'm a big fan of Howard Shore's score for David Cronenberg's Crash, which is just an excellent film. But the opening credits, it's like this really atmospheric, and it's got like this jangly guitar sound over these opening credits of like all the letters look like they've been battered. And then as the film, I rewatched it recently and just noticed that like as the film moves on, the opening theme is repeated several times throughout, but it becomes like more warped and more distorted and discordant throughout the film. And it's as these characters are going down this darker rabbit hole of car crashes and sex, and I love it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, Shore I think is very, very diverse. Like I also love his work with on The Fly. Is really, really terrifying and tragic stuff all put together. I love his like 99% piano oriented score for Spotlight, which won Best Picture that year. Yeah, I think he's a very versatile composer. But yeah, the thing that really gets me is when I watch any movie is leitmotif. When a melody comes back, it pays off in a certain scene. I go, oh, I see what you're doing, you know. And
but it's risky too. It can go wrong if you kind of repeat.
It could totally. Yeah, it could totally go wrong. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But I remember it was 2019, so the 2018 films were up for the Oscars. It was the year that Green Book won Best Picture. But there was a race, there was a category where a lot of people wanted Beale Street to win original score, but then the winner ended up being Black Panther. And I remember, I'm sorry?
What were people rooting for again?
Oh, Beale Street.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. And that was a very like tough category for me because I loved both scores. I loved Nicholas's work on Beale Street, but I every time that subject came up, I ended up defending Black Panther a lot because if you listen to the score in Black Panther, Ludwig Göransson puts so much leitmotif work in there. He puts a lot of specific instrumental choice that is specifically associated to T'Challa or to Killmonger or to Wakanda as a place. And it just felt like a lot of people were automatically dismissive of Black Panther because it's a Marvel movie.
Black Panther, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so when it won, I told a lot of people like, yeah, please listen to it because I really do think it's really good. You can listen to certain tracks in the Black Panther score and you can picture what's going on. You could picture what's happening in the film. In fact, I actually think the movie underuses its score because the score is not loud enough in the film.
Yeah. Well, I think it's, I like that you brought up leitmotif because it's one of those things, like you said, it's not overdone. And also leitmotif is one of those things where it's, it veers dangerously close to, you're so close to turning it from leitmotif to theme. So, you know what I mean? If you go that far, you're going to totally,
John Williams walks a really tight.
Very fine line.
A very fine line on that.
Right, like before this, in preparation for this episode, I asked my girlfriend, I was like, who would you associate Howard Shore with, Cronenberg and she said Peter Jackson. I said Cronenberg because I'm thinking, Dead Ringers, The Fly, blah, 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 everything else, Crash and everything like that. But then, like you said, the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So, again, another sign of a very capable and wonderful composer. Yeah.
I want to jump in and maybe ask, while we're still talking before the trivia, if there was anybody had an example of a needle drop used in a movie that they really liked, not necessarily a score or part of the soundtrack, but just one instance. And I have one that is kind of been lingering in my mind since I saw it. It's another Refn project. It's in his Amazon series, Too Old to Die Young. Halfway through, there's this car chase through the desert, and it's set to Barry Manilow's Mandy. And it's like two cars filled with like the toughest guys in the world trying to kill each other. But then one of the cars is like they're arguing about like what to play on the radio, and then Mandy comes on, and they both just kind of finally accept that it's okay. And then the soundtrack completely takes over, and it's just like this really beautifully shot and gorgeously edited sequence of just two sets of thugs driving through the night while Mandy goes full roar on the radio. That's just a sequence that stands out to me. I don't know if anybody had anything similar they wanted to share.
There's one that definitely stood out to me. I don't know if I love it. I mean, I like it, but it's very memorable because I was totally caught off guard when I first saw it. It was that scene in Kingsman at the church, and then where this is huge massacre, people killing each other, and then the music that's playing is Freebird. I was like, what?
Gotta love the ironic juxtaposition there.
Yeah.
As far as mine is also one of those ironic juxtapositions as well, and it's one where it goes from the characters diegetically singing the song to it transferring into a needle drop, which is Britney Spears in Spring Breakers. I think that scene is incredible.
That's a brilliant,
like one of the best scenes of last decade. I love that movie so much, and that is so in line with what that movie is saying, and the vibe of that movie. You either vibe with that movie or you don't, and you're either way out by the time Britney Spears shows up, or you're all the way sucked in, and I was all the way sucked in.
Yeah, I'm right in the middle. I'm right in the middle on that.
You're the one.
Yeah, it took me like a year to make my mind up. So.
Yeah, it took me 2 days. I ended up recommending it and saying, yeah, I did like it. I just didn't love it. Yeah. But it definitely is one that sticks out in my mind, and that's a very good choice for Needle Drop, the Britney Spears thing. That definitely stuck with me.
For sure.
The Needle Drop, I mean, I think the movie, when I think of Needle Drops, I always think immediately of Mommy, Xavier Dolan's movie from, I think, like 2014. It's one that uses aspect ratio a lot, and a lot of times he'll change the aspect ratio to the music. So, like, there's a big scene with Wonderwall, actually, which, a lot of people are totally bored of Wonderwall by the time that they used it in that movie, but it's become indelible with that movie and that moment, and that because that needle drop just comes out of nowhere. It's one of the last songs you expect, but kind of that entire movie is a bunch of just pop songs that most people have written off that he just drops in and uses so well.
I back Mommy 100%. Like, if you showed me the soundtrack to that movie on paper, I would throw it out the window. But when you watch the movie, you're like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. It's like, and not just Wonderwall, but like there's a Celine Dion song that's used really well in there, Counting Crows. It's Dido. It's like, kudos to Dolan for pulling that off. Mommy.
Recontextualizing pop songs can be an extremely useful tool for a director who knows how to use it properly. And I have not seen Mommy, but it sounds like that's the case with that one.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, the other one I recently is how Jordan Peele kind of changes and mutates I've Got Five on It for Us.
Oh, yeah. No, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another one that comes up.
I like when Fuck the Police pops up on Ophelia. System.
Yep. That one had a really good reception at South by Southwest.
I'll bet. And if that somehow premiered today, I think even more so.
Oh.
Yep.
If it premiered today on VOD.
Yes, well.
I know, right? There was one more I wanted to actually really talk about, and it was score and like as well as soundtrack, and that would be for my number, I think, 3 film of 2018. That was Luca Guadagnino's Suspiria.
Oh yeah, that's a really good score.
It's incredible. I love the film. People will burn me at the stake when I say that I might even like it more than the original, but it's such a different film. And I think it's in tune with the pioneering spirit of artistic creativity that goes into it. In that it's a remake in the sense that it's something we never asked for or even thought we wanted. But the thing is that it's just such a open door for brazen artistic creativity. And it's so bold and so original. And I think the thing is that there's an inclusiveness there, and that it's beautiful art. And it goes to the acting, it goes to the directing, it goes to the cinematography, it goes to the script writing, it goes to the score. And everyone's doing their own thing, and yet it comes together as this like hypnotically beautiful, cohesive unit. And it's
really interesting. It's really interesting because I listened to a little bit of the score before I saw the film, and I remember being really drawn in by the song Unmade. Right, I thought, whoa, this is a pretty hypnotic, sad, really gripping song. I wonder how does it fit, right? And then when you actually get to the scene where that song is used, it's like
there's such a strange contrast. And the thing too is that like with the original,
literally mind-blowing.
It literally is mind-blowing. Exactly. Well said. And the thing too is that with Argento's Suspiria and Goblin is that it's so baroque and it's so bigger than life. And then you have someone like Tom York who plays it so down and so minimal, and he's also kind of evoking this like kind of weird woozy drunk style that he coined with Amnesiac, with like so and so in a glass house, where the name of that song is, and that's very much in the Suspirium song. And there's it would have been so easy for them to, you know, call songs from the period with like the German Autumn and everything, which is very consistent with the film's timing, but they didn't. They did their own thing and they stuck by it. And
you know, that should be another roundtable discussion, comparing originals with their remakes.
Yeah, definitely.
Movies that sound stupid on paper and then end up being rad.
Yeah, no, I remember I was like,
that's another one we could have.
I heard about it and I was like, we don't need a Suspiria remake. We don't. This is such a dumb thing. I hate it. And then I'm like, ooh, Luke Guadagnino's making it. Oh, Tom York's scoring it. And then everything else came into fall. You know, like so. I foot and mouth for a little bit there.
Although Tom York's still the inferior of the Radiohead composers, but that's another discussion.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny Thorne. There will be blood's terrific. Yeah.
I did realize that this is absolutely not on purpose. This is in quarantine. We call this business casual, but I am wearing a Radiohead shirt today.
So I wanted to say a couple of my, like, I love Needle Drop One, sorry to rewind, but I love the use of the Pixies at the end of Fight Club. I love Cat People and Inglourious Bastards. There's that one amazing sequence. Actually, Quentin does that in a few of his movies. I also love the sequence in Boogie Nights with Sister Christian and Jesse's Girl. So I wanted to throw those out. And I feel like I concentrated more on soundtracks, and I'm going to do it again, but there's something to a movie where it's kind of all the original music is written by one artist or primarily one artist. And I think Into the Wild soundtrack by Eddie Vedder is amazing. And I want to give that props before we move on to trivia. Did anyone else have some final thoughts before then?
I'll say one more
for score, Kristy.
Do I have one more for score? I don't know. Don't ask me these questions, Kevin.
Quick needle drop. I'll say In the Court of the Crimson King, Children of Men. If you're a prog rock dork like me, that's like catnip. So
it's actually funny you asked me, Kevin, because Lord of the Rings was actually one I was going to talk about.
So, okay.
When you were talking about those scenes, I literally, like, we talked about, should we hum things? I thought about like how I could easily have been adding some musical commentary to your
well, that's what Jake's doing for trivia. It's going to be a Name That Tune segment.
No.
It's a great segue.
Jake, you were going to drop one more?
I'm just going to say real quick, I watched this film earlier this year. It's called Until the End of the World. It's by Wim Wenders. It was made in 1991. It's a 5-hour movie, basically about this couple who travel the world and they're trying to capture their dreams on video. It's really good. But what Wim Wenders did is that he reached out to like 20 of his favorite musical artists. And he says, I'm making this movie. I want you to make a song for me that sounds like what music is, how music sounds, or how you think it'll sound in the future. And then all these great artists like David Byrne, Depeche Mode, U2, all these artists came back with a song, and he couldn't not cut any of them. So that's why the movie's 5 hours long, because each of these songs basically play in their entirety. But that's a really good movie. It opens.
It had a lot to do with the reason why it wouldn't get released for so long was getting the rights. But one of the most affecting parts in the film is when they do that live cover of Days by the Kinks towards the end.
Yeah. It becomes a musical movie too. Like they start a jam band out in the Australian wilderness.
Yeah.
It's great.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's so beautiful and affecting. I love that scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought it up. That's terrific.
Yeah.
Wow.
A lot of great choices here, guys. This has been fun.
I like to add one more that even though I talked a lot about Howard Shore, my personal favorite composer is Joe Hisaishi. I think that everything he's ever done is like 10 out of 10, A+.
Ghibli
stuff.
and Takashi Kitano. He's done a great mix of films.
Yeah. There's there was like a really interesting conversation I had with my sister, because my sister is really into music. Like she does sheet music, and we were having this discussion about what is it about certain composers' style where when you hear their music, it just sounds Asian, or it just sounds like it's from a certain culture, right? Like she showed me certain tracks made by like EDM artists, like electronic dance artists, and she showed me some that are what she calls Asian oriented, like one, you know, and I listened to them, and it's really interesting because no matter how hard the artist tries to make it sound Asian, just from like the melody, the key it's in, or like the choice of notes, I could tell that this is not an Asian, it's not an Asian person who made this. This guy is probably Swedish or definitely European. And then I turned out to be right. And so she and I were like, what is it about that? What is it about music where when you hear it, you instantly associate it with certain cultures, or you instantly associate it with certain backgrounds? And
I think it's like an intuitive thing. Yeah. I think
Yeah,
like if,
yeah.
you know, Bernard Herrmann scored, Castle in the Sky, we would have a drastically different movie on our hands. But I'm so glad you brought up Joe Hisaishi. He's one of my favorites, and I'll just say very quickly, the stuff of that beat with Takashi Kitano, I think is terrific. And the difference there, I think, is that it's less sentimental, more mournful and fatalistic. And out of my favorite ones would probably be Hanabi or Fireworks. Out of that bunch, and they're just so terrific. And Kikuchiro's too.
It's the other comparison I just want to throw out there real quick about the associating the cultures is when you hear Joe Hisaishi music, it feels so it just feels not only Japanese, but it feels like there's a lot of history, a lot of cultural history behind it. And then you compare that to like Kung Fu Panda. Hans Zimmer did Kung Fu Panda with James Newton Howard, and I praised the Kung Fu Panda films in their score because Hans Zimmer and James Newton Howard, they actually use Chinese instruments. Like they use the erhu, which is a two-string Chinese violin. And yet, even when they use those Chinese instruments, you hear the melodies that they make. And I could tell that it's not an Asian person who made it. Like I'm not saying that makes it bad. I'm not saying that at all. Like I think
but it almost feels like a slumming
they
thing.
did an amazing job with Kung Fu Panda, but it's just amazing that you hear it and you can still tell that it's not from Asian people.
Right.
Shout out to Kevin for making me look and sound like a grade A dum-dum over here while he's busting out knowledge. And I'm just like, I like this. The music is pretty and I like it a lot.
Well, you're mentioning stuff that I haven't heard before. So you're doing a lot, Jay.
Yeah.
Well, the last thing I'll say, my final thought will just be on the opposite end of music that works in the movie that doesn't work outside of the movie. I think a movie for me where the score is so overpowering and so manipulative that I love in real life. I'll listen to it every day. Last of the Mohicans does not work in the movie. Love that score in real life. I think the music is incredible, but gosh, it is overbearing in that movie. So that's my final thought.
Because it gets played over and over again.
Yeah.
Right?
And it gets louder.
It gets louder.
It just gets louder.
Or I will defend Hans Zimmer's Dark Knight. Like some people kind of are hard on that. The score
I think it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great too. Yeah.
I got your back there, man. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Although my girlfriend cannot stand Hans Zimmer's work for Inception. She's like,
really?
She's like, it's just blom, blom, blom all the time.
But it works so perfectly.
But it works exactly. Thank you.
The Edith Piaf song, Slow Down.
I know, and I think that leads to another conversation we should have that I think is also interesting, which is trends that start off great, but then they become bad for the industry because then the industry kind of copies it the wrong way. For example, Hans Zimmer doing the blom all the time in Inception. It's great in Inception. And then it just becomes this terrible thing that every movie trailer starts using. And,
Oh, yeah. It works in Interstellar and it works in Inception, but, Maze Runner, I don't know.
Well, I say we get to trivia, if that's okay
Yes,
with
yes,
everyone.
let's
I
do
think
that.
Christy alluded to
let's
it
do that.
18 minutes ago, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
here we
sorry.
are. No worries. No, this has been great. I have a lot of good stuff written down to check out. So I'm happy for these help contribute to, staying sane during quarantine. But here we go.
Yeah.
It's trivia time. Trivia. I will ask 10 film and TV related questions to the group. The first person to say the correct answer will earn a point. The player with the most points at the end wins. In the event that there's a tiebreaker will become available. Are there any questions?
No.
Okay. Question number 1. Which band came up with the one-hit wonder track, That Thing You Do?
So,
The
Wonders.
Oneaters or the
The Oneaters,
Wonders.
yeah.
The Wonders.
Yes. Kevin got that one, I believe.
Yeah. Nice.
Denny, yes.
Now,
Good
if you
job.
know all the lyrics and you can sing it, you get.
I get 14 bonus points.
Did you know that song did not win the Oscar for Best Original Song? It does
What
not
was it
make
that
sense
year,
to me.
though?
What did it lose to?
I don't know.
Find out right now.
I'll find out later. But
Sure.
like that song is like not only it's like catchy enough and annoying enough
Yeah.
to win.
It works. All right.
That thing you do.
Question number 2. Hey, no Googling during the trivia.
No. I'm looking.
Question two. Question two. Of course you are.
Do.
I'm sure you are. All right. Question number 2. Who sings the 6 Feet Under finale song, Breathe Me?
See ya.
Emily with a point.
Jeez.
Excellent.
I figured that one would come up.
All
Such
right.
a heartbreaking sequence.
Indeed. Question number 3. The quote that opens The Breakfast Club comes from which David Bowie song?
Ooh.
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 Any quote is, and these children that you spit on as they try to change your world are immune to your consultations.
Changes?
Yes, correct, Alexander.
Thank you, Poncho.
You're quite aware of what they're going through. Okay. Question number 4. This one is very tricky. Listen to how it's worded. John Williams' most recent Oscar win was for Schindler's List in 1994 as composer. How many Oscars has he been nominated for since then?
At least once. Because I know he was. Oh wait, no.
Definitely at least once.
Twice.
3. I'm going
This is how many nominations has he received since 1994?
I'm gonna
3.
say 3.
3.
Okay.
3. Anyone else want to throw out a number?
I'm gonna say
I know
4.
it's at least 2.
I was gonna say none because that's what you always do when you do tricky ones. But
No,
This is
he was nominated for
This is-
Force Awakens and The
he-
Rise of Skywalker.
Are you look like you're
Yeah, but
reading
you're-
that off.
you're
And
looking.
I think The Last Jedi as well.
All right, so we're going for total nominations, not wins. Anyone want to throw out a number? John Williams, one of the most famous, arguably the most famous composer in the world.
I'm sticking with 4.
We're
He
gonna
gets
go
nominated for everything. I'm gonna say 7.
Okay, Jay
I'm gonna
says
say
7.
2.
1.
1,
4.
4. Emily, do you want to throw out a number?
6.
6. Okay, I'm gonna give it to Jay. The answer was 16.
Holy sh!
I don't know.
Yes,
He gets
has-
nominated for everything.
Exactly.
No,
If
hold on.
he's the Meryl Streep of composing. If he's working that year, he gets nominated. I looked it
In
up
accordance
today.
with California law, yeah.
1994. He's been nominated for an Oscar 16 times since then. That was
He once
really fun.
tripped on a xylophone and got nominated for an Oscar.
Yes.
Oh my god.
That was number
Nixon,
15.
Sleepers, Amistad, Saving Private Ryan, Angela's Ashes, The Patriot. AI?
I saw
yeah.
that in the theater when I was way too young to see that movie.
Oh wow. Okay.
All
I
right.
underestimated the power of John Williams.
All right.
By the
well, now
way,
you know.
the song that beat That Thing You Do is You Must Love Me from Evita,
Yeah,
I've
unforgettable.
not seen it. All right.
written by Andrew Lloyd Webber, actually.
Oh, okay.
Question number 5. Who composed Psycho?
Bernard
Bernard
Herrmann.
Herrmann.
Alexander got it. Very nice.
Dun, 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 dun,
Question.
dun, dun.
Dun, 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 dun. All right. Question number 6? What is the title of the famous musical episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Once more with feeling.
That was so close. I think Alexander may have gotten the edge on that one, but that was really good. All right.
Buffy.
Question number 7. How many movie musicals has Rob Marshall directed?
Oh. He did Chicago for sure. And then
3.
2.
5.
we're going to throw out
We're gonna do
numbers
this again.
16.
4.
5.
Emily got it right. It is 4.
Yay.
All right.
He did, what did he do? He did Chicago. He did Into the Woods.
Mm-hmm.
He
Yeah.
did.
Oh, he did do
Oh.
Into the
Did he do
Woods.
Beauty and the Beast?
He didn't do Beauty.
The
He did
Did
Nine.
he do
9.
Mary Poppins?
9. Yeah.
He did 9.
Oh, Mary
and he did do
Poppins.
Mary Poppins
Mary
Returns.
Poppins.
Okay.
I was thinking. I forgot about Mary Poppins, I guess.
Question number 8. This one's worth 2 points. Who portrayed Captain Hook and Peter Pan in NBC's 2014 production of Peter Pan Live?
Oh, God. Christopher Walken?
Christopher Walken.
You got the 1 point. Who played Peter Pan?
Oh, Allison Williams.
Yes, correct. Jay comes back. All right. Question number 9. What is the name of Scott Pilgrim's band?
Oh,
Yeah.
bomb
The
ass
Sex Bombs.
sex bomb. Mother.
Jay got it. Very good, Jay. All right. It's okay. It's not over yet. This one's
I almost
anybody's game.
broke in our swear. Our swear
Oh,
jar.
Speaking of Peter
I said
Pan.
fuck the police earlier. We're fine.
Oh, you did?
Speaking of Peter Pan, can we talk about
I totally
talk
did.
about that one needle drop in Pan where everyone suddenly started singing the Nirvana song?
I'd rather not. All right. Question number 10.
It's just the weirdest moment.
It is weird.
Question number 10. And I'll be surprised if anybody knows this. Which artist sang the title track to the 1994 film Speed?
Shit.
Follow-up question. Did anybody know such a thing existed?
I didn't know that existed.
Oh man, I want to hear it though.
It's pretty terribly awesome, I think.
Who would have done the track in 1994?
1994.
That would have been terribly
Is
awesome.
it like
like-
written for this? Is it written for the movie?
It is written for the movie. It's
Oh
called
my God,
it's,
is it-
Listing
is
off
it-
like bad music from that period.
Does
huh?
it say the word speed?
yeah, Speed is the title of the song and it's in the chorus.
All right, I don't get penalized for guessing, right?
No,
I'm gonna say In Excess.
it's not In Excess, but I think you're in the right ballpark. Give you another hint. It's an artist, not a band.
Prince?
No. Although that would have been good.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah, he said it was bad.
Yeah.
Ooh, oh, like
Well, he said the artist known as, not the.
Although Prince's Batman soundtrack, not
wondering.
good.
it's oh come on, that's awesome. It's like
I'm-
Billy Idol or something.
Yeah.
It is Billy Idol.
Oh,
Oh,
Wow.
Title.
Holy shit.
Wow.
Kristy earns a point. Excellent. All
Look at
right.
that.
Well, I'm going to have to congratulate Jay, though, as our newcomer. You are the champion with 4 points. We had
Undefeated.
Alexandra 3 eggs. Well, yeah, congratulations. You'll have to come back
Yes,
next
sir.
time to retain your title. I'm wondering, do you guys want to hear the tiebreaker? I always like saying those. Those are
Yes,
fun.
definitely.
All right. So the tiebreaker is name the 3 founding members of Spinal Tap.
Oh, I mean, like it would be Rob McKeon and Harry Shearer and Michael
Not the
McKean.
not the actors.
Yeah,
The band members.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. Love that movie. Haven't seen it in a very long time.
While you're guessing, I'm going to play Speed by Billy Idol on my iPhone. I have no idea how this is going to sound.
Well, now the video is going to get taken off YouTube.
No.
I was gonna say
we'll talk
everybody
about-
is gonna do that as soon as we end.
If we just pretend it's a karaoke session, we're okay.
I have no aim. He's shining my championship belt.
Well, the answer is David St. Hubbins, Nigel Tufnell, and Derek Smalls.
I knew there was a
Spinal Tap.
Nigel, yeah.
Well, congratulations, guys. That was a really fun game of trivia.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Billy.
16 nominations. That's crazy.
That's right.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Right. Well,
Great job with the trivia answering. I try to purposely get things wrong just to make everybody else look really, really good.
And
Like
we appreciate
John
it.
Williams, I know it's going to be high, so I purposely went like as low as possible. 'Cause
I just thought his output went down more than that.
Yeah, no. Like,
Yeah,
as
that's
long
what
as
I
he
thought
never
too.
makes
Yeah.
movies, John Williams
did
will make
too.
scores, and yeah.
apparently he's just churning them out constantly.
Still churn. Yeah,
95
still churning.
was it? Cool. So yeah, let's all go listen to Billy Idol. And
Yeah.
thank you. I'm curious to how many times the word speed is in that song.
It's
Probably
it's
a
great.
lot.
It's in the chorus. It's like speed, give me what I need. Oh, grease lightning, Meals on Wheels. That's how it feels, or something like that. It's really cheesy.
That's
That
beautiful.
sounds like Metallica's Fuel.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I
Give
feel
me
like
fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
I'm a better person for having known that exists. So thank you, Jake. And thank you
Yep.
everyone for
Yeah,
joining
you guys
today.
are great.
As always, we could keep talking, but we'll end here. And just, yeah, thanks again for joining us. Thanks again for watching, anyone who does. And always feel free to name drop some movies, composers, scores, etc. that you adore yourself, because we love to read that as well on the comments, and hope everyone's well.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
Bye, everyone.